Foul tarnished.
Lowly tarnished. Yeah, boy.
Alright everyone, welcome back to my updated Crucible Knight build from my first video. As you could tell from the beginning clips before this build does a ton of damage. It's actually very fun. There's kind of two ways you can take the build. You can do like either just full damage and like minuscule health, or you can go just kind of tankier and still do decent amount of damage. I went with the lower HP because it just, you did so much damage. And I found it a lot more fun. But I want to go over the weapons, my stats, incantations, and armor that I used. So let's just knock the armor out right away. You're going to want to use a Crucible set. Any Crucible set will boost your incantations for a Crucible. You're going to use all of them do the same thing, all the helms. And so you're going to want to wear any. The DLC one does the same. So just wear any Crucible Knight armor. You're going to do a lot more damage that way. And then let's hop into the 3 weapons that I used. Let's first talk about Devona's hammer. Devona's, I think. Devona's hammer. This one is actually so much fun. The amount of damage that you do with the Ash of War is insane. It doesn't have as much poise break as the sword from what I tested with the Ash of War or skill. It does more damage than the sword though. So if you're just going for raw damage and don't really care about guard breaking your opponent, Devona's hammer is the way for you. However, it is actually pretty heavy. So using Devona hammer and the Erdtree at the same time is actually kind of a problem because you're overweight, which is why I liked using the Ordorva's greatsword and the spear at the same time. But if you're just kind of going for like a meaty head bait strength build and just wield the hammer, you're going to do a ton of damage with the Ash of War. And it does good poise break just from its jumping heavy. And it does a decent amount of damage, and it has a B scaling off strength, so that's actually pretty good. The next weapon that I used is the Erdtree. Oh god, I'm butchering all these names. But this thing is an actual nuke that you just have a pocket nuke for a skill, then it's ranged. So not only do you have a pocket nuke, you can basically just throw it at someone. It does so much damage and travels actually very far for what you would think. It's all around just nice tool. It has Pierce too, so it goes through multiple enemies in case there's a bunch in front of you. And as you see from the clip, before it does a ton of damage. So I use that as well. And then obviously the last weapon is going to be the Ordorva's greatsword. The Ash of War does so much poise damage, does great damage. What else can you say about it? It's just, these are the 3 weapons that I would consider using if you're doing a Crucible Knight build. They're just so good. And the Erdtree seal that I went with, the seal I went with is the Erdtree seal. It just has the best scaling, as there's no like Crucible Knight seal in the game, unfortunately. So there's nothing that boosts Crucible Knight incantations for a seal. So I went with Erdtree because it has the best scaling. But all of that is kind of just basic knowledge. That's just obviously the weapons and stuff you're going to run, except for maybe the seal, but I would run the Erdtree. But let's talk about the talismans. So now I ran the Ritual Sword Talisman, the Shard of Alexander, Godfrey Icon, and Sacred Scorpion Charm just to raise my attack as much as possible for the beginning of the fight, where I can just immediately launch a mini nuke at them and do just half their HP. But in case you don't want to lower your defense with the Scorpion Charm, and then if you think like, oh, I'm gonna get hit anyways, and the Ritual Sword Talisman's not gonna be with it, you could also switch it up. I would put on, if you wanted to switch up, you could go to the Flock Canvas Talisman to make your talismans do more damage. This build was mostly just focusing on my Ashes of War, my skills for my weapons. So if you want to focus more on your incantations, you can. So you can do the Flock Canvas Talisman, and even you can run the Faithful Canvas Talisman for 12% buff to your spells. Or you could just go full like with the hammer, and you can go into the Two-Handed Sword Talisman, or even the Claw Talisman for just more jump attack damage. Also, two just like good recommended stuff that I like to use: the Erdtree Favor +2 and Great Jar's Arsenal. Whenever I just can't finish a build, I would always just throw those on them. And then if you are taking a lot of damage like everyone is in the DLC, Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman is the way to go. I feel that is just one of the best talismans in the game to help with survivability. But those are the talismans I would play around with, figure out what you like in your build. I just kind of went for straight up just raw skill damage. You can go for raw incantation damage, tanky, whatever you want to do. What I have in my flask is also kind of just around the skill damage. I have the Holy Shrouding Crack tier, which boosts your holy damage. And then I have the Spiked Crack tier, which boosts your charge attack power. So both of those is going towards the skill charge attacks that they have, making it even stronger. And then last but not least, one of the most important things is your incantations. And what I used for this build was I only used the aspects of the Crucible incantations plus Golden Vow and Flame Grant Strength. I feel like those are just two that you always run no matter what incantation build you have going on. But Breath, I felt was the most kinda lackluster. I felt like I couldn't really use it in boss fights. They would always just hit me out of it. And then using it against a swarm of minions is always fun. But I also like using the tail for that as well. So I feel like the tail and the breath kind of do the same thing for me. The aspects of the Crucible tail can actually knock Melania over if you whack her with it, which is nice. The best aspects of the Crucible incantation for me was the horns. The horns actually just does so much damage, and it has so much poise break. You dash a decent amount forward, so you can charge it up safely and then dash into it, and your recovery time is actually pretty quick. You do a lot of poise damage. If you hit Melania with it, you kind of flip her up in the air so you can get a free charged special in. It's really good all around. Surprisingly, I actually had fun with Bloom and Thorns. I didn't think they'd be good when I was first trying them out. But on big bosses like Erdtree avatars, dragons, magma worms, like any big boss, these actually cook. So Bloom has a long setup time. Like if you click that button, you're there for at least half an hour. So you kind of want to just pop Bloom before you get into the fight, and then after that I just wouldn't look at it again. If you unlock and then do Bloom, and it actually puts it around you, like it rains around you, which you could do if you know the enemy's going to run towards you. But if they're not a big enemy, good luck on hitting them. You would have better luck at a blind person driving. So if they're small, I would just not even look at Bloom. Like a Melania, just don't even look at it. She'll not even get hit by it. Thorns is, to me, kind of the same concept. Like you want to use Thorns on something that's big, a dragon, magma worm, Erdtree, just stuff that will get hit by all of them. So if you're fighting big monsters, Bloom, you start off the fight with Bloom, get the extra damage in, and then you kind of just, I would go for Stagger with the Ordovic's Greatsword, and then into the Thorns aspect of Crucible because it just does damage. But that's what I would do. I thoroughly enjoy them. You can obviously put whatever you want as your incantations, but I was just testing out the aspects of the Crucible. And then the last thing I want to go over is the stats. I'm just going to tell you the two that I focused on was Strength and Faith. I got Faith to 80 and then got Strength to 65. But obviously, level whatever you want. but I would mainly focus on faith, strength, as the weapons used both of those. But obviously level up whatever you want. If you want less HP, you can. If you want more HP, you can. So I would just focus on strength, faith. Make sure those are a decent number high so you're doing damage. And then just level whatever you want. Everyone has their own playstyle. I don't really want to be like, this is the only way you can play this build, because you can play it however you want. But, yeah. I don't remember if I talked about the armor. Just wear whatever Crucible armor. Just wear the Crucible armor. I think I covered everything that I wanted to talk about. So thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you use this build and have fun, as much fun as I was. It is incredible just to nuke people. But I will catch you all in my next video. Peace out.